Good evening, people. Just finished the evening watering job, so to speak, here in the garden. Been doing a lot of watering of late, not had much rain. Apparently we could be getting some rain soon, that's what they say, and certainly doesn't feel as warm. Well, it's not as warm as it has been this evening, but clouds in the sky, who knows what's going to happen. And if you watched my last video, you may recall me speaking of a garden being a place of meditation, and for me it is just that, you know, meditation, contemplating, chewing things over. New ideas come into here, good or bad, and it makes me think really of what people are sometimes going through out there. And there's much hardship in the world, so many things happening, from the absolutely terrible things that are going on to things that seem rather trivial, but you know, in the long term they make many people feel unhappy, don't they? Like, for instance, let's say you're in a job that you really don't like. You know, you have to go there every day because you've got a mortgage, you've got rent, you've got a family, you've got a car loan, council tax, food bills, water bills, electricity bills, a lot of expenses. That meal out you have every Friday night. These various expenses that we all have. And so many people out there now seem to be unhappy. Maybe that's because we expect a lot more than we had before. I remember speaking to, or when you speak to old people, you know, talking to one chap. In fact, I was talking to my grandfather, and he said to me that he remembers during World War II going to bed hungry. Now, in the modern world, although apparently it's on the increase in this country, obviously in other parts of the world that is a common thing, sadly. But who in this country goes to bed hungry anymore? I'm sure there are people that do. You know, they say that the use of food banks, etc., is on the increase, which is a very sad state of affairs if it's true. And you know, just makes me sort of think. And just from the gardening aspect, if more and more people got involved in community gardening, maybe we could have places where which people could get heavily subsidised the cost, because I know nothing in this world is for free, heavily subsidised very healthy fruit and vegetables, which add to massive benefit to health, the environment, and an overall sort of appreciation for the food security and food security issues of which we are having many of, or could have many of, in the future. And with regards to the unhappiness that many people out there are feeling now, whether it's caused by lack of control over one's destiny, lack of control over one's income, people feel trapped. Absolutely trapped. And the amount of people that feel trapped for years and years and years, there's so many out there. And it leads me on to ask myself and for others to ask themselves the question, if they want to ask themselves the question. They don't have to, of course, they can just carry on as they are. But do you really have to do what you're currently doing if it's making you that unhappy? I don't know. Is there a way that you can change things? Are there things you could learn about? Are there things you could nurture within yourself in order to help your situation or help the situation of others? Because if you're in a workplace that you don't want to be, you know, maybe that person that you're having to see day in, day out, that if you weren't working there you would have absolutely nothing in common and absolutely no interest at all in speaking with that person. You find their very being against your being, to the point where I think you get the idea. That company you're working for, that the ideas are just mad. You know, that new company that's, maybe you work in a place where there's new management in town, a new company taking over in town, and you've worked with such passion and effort, and a lot of your work gets undone, all because of someone with their big ideas. As they say, the new broom sweeps clean, and so much damage can be done in many ways. Of course, things can improve as well. Change is not always bad, you must bear that in mind. But as I stand in this polytunnel and contemplate, you know, I'm talking to people who view my channel predominantly for the gardening, which is of course what this channel is about. In fact, what we'll do is we won't talk too much about peaches or anything, but we will look at this beautiful Tithonia flower, variety torch. Doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? Is there some education you can do? Is there some equipment that you could purchase that would enable you to, or hire, that would enable you to offer a service? Is there a course that you could do which would enable you to offer a service to help you get yourself out of that situation? Is there a hobby that you could pursue that would help make the situation more bearable? You know, for instance, I could tell you so much. I really could, but I won't. At least not at this stage. And the world has changed in many, many ways. We've got good and bad, of course. We've got so many more avenues, so many more channels of learning now, which we didn't have, at least on the surface of it, as apparent before. The obvious one being the internet. YouTube in itself, a massive learning tool if it's used correctly. Not everybody who is involved with YouTube uses it all for positive reasons. Like anything, it can be used for good or bad, but you know, the Google search engine, whereas before the search engine was, I remember when I was a kid, going, as great as it was and still is, and there's still a big place for it in my opinion, going down the library. You know, whereas now you can just sit on your smartphone in the comfort of your own bedroom, living room, kitchen, toilet. When you're doing your doings, you can just type something in on Google and learn something. You know, a massive tool. Of course, smartphone addiction, internet addiction can be very bad as well, but if used wisely, the power of it, in my opinion, is absolutely immense. And you know, you're watching my gardening videos on YouTube, you're watching other people's gardening videos, other people's cooking videos. I mean, if you type into YouTube now how to bake a cake, how much are you going to get to come up? So much, you know, massive learning tool. And the point of this video is if you're going through something in life which is dragging you down and making you unhappy, and you really, really want to get out of it, there may be a way that you can. Now, it may not happen immediately, and it may not happen totally. You may never get out of it, but maybe you could find ways of making it more bearable. Could you go part-time in your current role whilst you build something up? Could you start to build something up that brings in a small income which will enable you to then cut down the thing that you don't like? Of course, if you're 30 years into a career and you're going to get a pension in 7 years' time, you've got to ask yourself the question, you know, the pension if you carry on in 7 years' time, you've got to ask yourself the question, is it worth me leaving, or shall I do another 7 years and then get my great big payout, my great big monthly pension. Don't know. Pension age is on the increase, isn't it? Regards to public service pensions, public sector, private pensions. Even in the forces, I believe, the police force, the pension age is on the increase. So therefore, that carrot is getting dragged further and further away from you. I don't know about the army, I don't know about the fire service. I think the NHS pension was fiddled with as well, wasn't it, when they did all that stuff. But this is not a political video, and this is not a political channel, nor will it ever become one. But I think it can be a channel where which we can all help one another and share things, and use the garden here, use your own garden. If you don't have a garden, maybe you could go down a community garden, go for a walk in the park. Maybe you could go and visit a friend's garden, or maybe if you're housebound, if you're unwell, and there are people out there in that position, you know, that's again another good thing of the internet, because you can look at other gardens on the internet, you can look at parks on the internet, nature documentaries, and maybe find some solace there. So what I'd like to say is there a way you can slowly start to make yourself more productive and happier? And overall, is society changing in a way where which things are getting more possible to achieve for the average person? I don't know. So, slightly different video this evening, and obviously I didn't script it. I'm just saying whatever waffle is coming into my head. But I think you get the idea. Now, please let me know if you liked this video. If you didn't, let me know, and I'll stick predominantly to, well, I'm always going to stick predominantly to gardening videos on this channel, because that's my passion here. But with regards to contemplation and thought and thinking and development and helping one another, for instance, a garden, right? It starts off very simple. You could start off with just growing a few geraniums in a tub, and before you know it, the passion takes you over, and you end up with things like this in the tunnel. This wasn't like this, and had I not started it, it wouldn't be like it now. Had I not started making YouTube videos, I wouldn't have engaged with all the amazing people that I have on YouTube. And could your life in many ways be the same? Could you think, oh, you know what? I really, really enjoyed doing that. You know what? I'm not bad at ironing. I could start an ironing business. You know what? I'm not bad at washing cars. I could start a mobile car washing business. You know what? I was really good at maths at school. Really good, and I got some A-levels and blah-de-blah. I could be a maths tutor. Window cleaning, that sounds good as well. You don't have to just go and work somewhere if you don't want to. There are other options. So, that's the contemplation. Next video will be 100% pure and utter gardening. Good evening, peeps, and speak soon.